All right. Welcome, everybody. It is episode 2 of Homeslice. Oh, man, we are back at it. Be catching the recording of this one. Usually you'll catch us live on probably late Thursday morning, but we're coming to you. It's Wednesday night. Game 3 has just ended in the NBA Finals. I don't know if that means the series has ended. We're going to get into that. I've got IDP Iggy with me. That's IDP _ Iggy on X. As you all know, I am Evan, SoCal Ball Nerd, at SoCal Ball Nerd on X. We got a special guest tonight, the Celtics' own Dante. Let's bring Dante in, man. Dante, how are you tonight, brother?
Well, howdy, boys. I'm good. I'm good.
I bet you are.
Well, the Celtics now have a 3-0 lead in the 2024 NBA Finals. I think that most of us basketball fans, even Celtic fans, I think can say that I don't know if they expected a 3-0 lead. I think they were confident in their basketball team, but I think we were expecting a little bit better of an NBA Finals. Maybe that was due to the Celtics team that we've seen underperform or undershow up at times throughout the season. But this is a team that won 64 basketball games, a team that can win at home, a team that can win on the road. And they're showing who they are. Is it more Boston? Is it a lack of stuff on Dallas' side of things? Give me your take so far through 3 games and what you think about what you thought going into the series, Dante, and then obviously where you are now on the cusp of an NBA championship with this era of the
Celtics. I'd be more than happy to share with you guys my opinions thus far. I mean, I didn't really expect this series to turn out the way it did. Like, I honestly thought that Dallas was just gonna, win a game at home, and then, with the Celtics being a better road team than we are a home team, just gonna have to steal one of these games in Dallas. But throughout the third game, it would just look like pretty much it was just Celtics were just gonna win the whole thing, right? I mean, there were times when the Celtics did struggle to get something going, especially in the first quarter. But that's why there's 4 quarters of basketball, right? We didn't really turn it up until the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, right? When it was all facilitated by Jaylen Brown, who had 6 points leading up to halftime, and then he just came out guns a-blazing, in the second half. So I really do. Yeah.
Is he the MVP right now? Do you think, Deontay? Do you think he's the MVP for the finals?
Honestly, also, in my entire opinion, I would have to go with yes. I think he's a certified lock for him to be Finals MVP. I just saw a stat on Twitter where I believe he's at a minus 275 to win it. I believe the odds could have changed, but that's the last time that I saw it as a minus 275. So honestly, honestly, if it wasn't for Jaylen Brown in these past 3 games, I don't think the Celtics are where they are right now. I mean, yeah, true. Porzingis in the first game coming off the bench, he scored 20 points. Like he was pretty much unguardable, And then, the second game he really wasn't as effective, and then Jaylen Brown had to step it up a little bit. And then in this game, like I said, if it wasn't for Jaylen Brown, going off the way he did in that third quarter, in which the Celtics outscored the Mavericks 35-19, I don't think we would have been in the position that we are right now. So that's just kind of my opinion for Jaylen Brown. Like, he has been nothing short of spectacular. Free throws could use a little bit of work, but that's okay, But
yeah, he finished with 41 minutes, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 block.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what more can you ask from Jaylen Brown? I mean, yeah, he's getting paid $300 million a year. You're talking about a guy with no all NBA titles or anything like that this year, and he just proved to you that he doesn't need those types of individual achievements to really help out with the dynamic of the Celtics, because he brings to the Celtics just this, I don't know, it's just like this energy that Jaylen Brown has. Like, he's not really flamboyant, or he's not really pig-headed or anything like that. No, he does what he has to do on the court to help us win. And so tonight he just showed you that he's worth $300 million. So
yeah, I mean,
there was
I was going to say real quick. The truth is, with Boston, nobody cares what you do in the regular season. You know, you become a legend in Boston by what you do in the playoffs. Exactly. And you know, the fact he'll be like Jamal Murray for Denver. No All-Stars, you know, no All-NBA teams, but known as that playoff guy. You know, he'll always be known as that playoff guy.
Yep. And I think and he was one of the reasons why Denver won the finals last year, because of Jamal.
Yeah, and Brown's the same way. I think. I mean, he won the Eastern Conference Finals, MVP. He's been on a roll. So, I mean, I think he'll go down in lore. I think he'll be treated well in history books by Boston. Go ahead.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, what Jason Kidd came out and said that Jaylen Brown was the best player on the Celtics, right? And I don't think he meant that by any means to, you know, like, I don't think Jason Tatum needs to be woken up or you know, try to stir the pot. I think that Jason Kidd as a as a basketball, I won't even say fan, just a knowledgeable man of basketball, the game of basketball. I think he legitimately believes that Jaylen Brown is the best player on this team. And you don't get paid max money, right, if you're not one of the best players. And he would be first team all academic. I know that. Jaylen Brown is a smart man. You know, people shied away from him in the NBA draft, talking about that he was like too smart of a guy, right? This guy's teaching college robotics classes in the off season. But, you know, it translates onto the court, right? He just knows, man, when to turn it up. It seems like when he throws down one of those thunderous dunks, it is timely. He knows when to go to the basket.
No, it's always a great baller coming down the paint, baby. That's all that is.
I mean, he had 8 rebounds and 8 assists as well, right? To go with those, like, 30 points tonight. I mean, almost a triple-double in the NBA Finals. And just, you know, Tatum did have 31 tonight. You know, we were waiting for Tatum to score, but he did take 26 shots. And I think that's the thing with Tatum. You knew he'd score eventually because the volume would be there. Again, he struggled from three-point land. I mean, these two guys were 6 of 22 from behind the arc. They still won the basketball game, right? I mean, because just like they did tonight, like their team is going to take a lot. And as long as they make enough, they're going to win the game. I mean, you know, Dallas again, minus 24 from behind the three-point line, right? The Celtics make 17 of, I think, 42 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And like, that's just tough to overcome, you know, and the
Dallas isn't built for that.
And the lack of the assists for this Mavericks team. I don't understand. Where was the pick and roll? Where was the offense? They had 9 assists in game 1, which ties an NBA Finals low, and they had 15 tonight. Like, you cannot just play one-on-one basketball. And that's what happened when the Celtics blew the lead tonight. Or you could just say the Mavericks took the game back because their style worked for that short period, but it doesn't work for 4 quarters. It doesn't work for a 7-game series, not against this team. You know, I mean, it worked to get them there, but it's not working against this Boston team that is proven that who they are on paper is legit. This Mavericks team has not scored 100 points yet. Looked like they might tonight, you know, had 51 at the half. And Boston just turned it up, man. And I don't know. I would like to see Dallas do a little bit differently on offense, but I don't know.
I think, you know, there's some statistics that just pop out for me. Like you said, the assist being one of them. I just don't know why the game plan wasn't to attack Al Horford more. Daniel Gafford started out great. I mean, but he only ended up playing 16 minutes. Derek Jones Jr. only ended up playing 15 minutes and 48 seconds. That's 2 starters. That's 2 forwards, you know. And I mean, 2, you know, good guys on your starting team that can play down low and get points down low. I mean, Derek Jones used to be known as a dunker. That's how he got his nickname. But instead, Lively comes in, plays almost 30 minutes, does get a double-double. You know, they're invested in Lively. Like, I didn't realize until tonight that Tyson Chandler's there for Derek Lively. They brought in the coach from Utah that developed Rudy Gobert to develop Derek Lively. So that's going to be something. And he played well. He started getting great rebounds in that fourth quarter. He was in on that fourth quarter run, Deontay, that probably had you maybe panicking a little bit. I didn't know that was going to happen. I wasn't prepared for that. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., they tried to go out there and do something. He played almost 20 minutes. Green played 22 minutes. I mean, that they're going 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 They're going to their 11th person on their roster in Green and in Hardaway, who hadn't played much. And then, of course, Hardaway couldn't buy a bucket. I saw a statistic. He hasn't made a field goal attempt since May 12th or something like that, almost a month. Mm-hmm. So, and against Boston, Deontay, I just want to say, man, it's like Dallas. I've watched this series, and Boston just comes back at the end of every quarter. They close every quarter so well with good defensive play. Even the fourth quarter, it got down to, 2 points, 3 points? Yes. And then Boston, what did they do with those last 4 minutes? Hey, this is our game. Boom. Mm-hmm. And just take it over. So what are your thoughts on that as somebody that's watched Boston all year? Were you ever panicked, or have you seen them just close out these quarters like we've seen against Indiana, like we've seen against Dallas? Have they just been doing that all year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the difference with this year's Celtics team with last year's Celtics team is that we're just able to finish out quarters more efficiently than what we did last year. Like you said, I mean, it's all about maintaining it's all about maintaining that that confidence in your players and just being able to keep your foot on the gas at all times, even though sometimes we allow our opponents to get on these like huge runs, and then Missoula has to call one of his timeouts and stuff like that. But in the end, I mean, we're a much better team just closing out these types of quarters, especially because we have guys that we can consistently rely upon. We have Drew Holiday, we have Derek White, we have we have even players that nobody's even heard of, like Sam Hauser tonight. Like, he was just going at it crazy from 3 tonight. I mean, Jesus Christ! Like, this is the same exact thing that he did in Game 1 against the same Mavs team. So, like I said, it's just a matter of just having this reliability on players just to be able to close out these quarters. Like the third quarter tonight, 35-19, is just a reflection of what the Celtics have done all season, So
Absolutely. And Evan, a lot of people talk about the depth of Boston, but they only played 8 players. Hauser got 9 of their 12 points. Pritchard had 0 points in 11 minutes. Tillman had a 3, a big time 3. It was a big 3, but he nailed that one. And he played 11 minutes. But listen to this: every starter besides Horford, and Horford still played 36 minutes and 47 seconds. Yeah. Every other starter played 41 or more minutes. So as long as people harp on this bench, it doesn't remind me of Minnesota's bench. To me, it goes like, I think Deontay said it inadvertently. Their starters, they can rely on any 5 of those guys. Game 2, it was Drew Holiday. Derek White's been consistent, even though he's not getting a lot of glory. Brown able to take them over. What do you think it is? Do you think that they're as deep as like the media is portraying them to be, or do you think it's more their 5? I mean, without Porzingis, you add Porzingis to the mix. That definitely helps their bench. But what are your observations on that?
Yeah, I mean, you add Porzingis, obviously it adds to it. But the thing is when it's not those guys, you see Pritchard and Hauser stepping up, right? And when it is those guys, it's any mix of them. I mean, those, counting Porzingis, that group of guys at some point have been all-stars or all-star caliber players in their NBA career. And when you can have, I mean, even Al Horford, right? Like, even this Al Horford, right? Vintage Al Horford, go back and watch some Hawks games. This man has been great for a long time. But even Al Horford now, he's still, every series, he has like a 20-point game. He hasn't had it quite yet. I thought maybe tonight would be a night where Dallas said, hey, let's collapse and let's give Horford 12 threes, right? Let's try to make him beat us, right? Not that the other guys wouldn't take attempts, but they didn't need to do that, right? I mean, again, the high volume of Boston. But I just think they're just so hard. They're so deep. And that's the thing. Horford is their 5th option right now, even without Porzingis. And that's pretty scary because these other 4, I mean, Derek White is just at any time. We've watched him just go off and rattle off 10, 12 points like that and take over a game. We've watched Drew Holiday do the same thing. And not to mention, not only can they bring that to the table offensively, but back to the Mavericks not scoring 100 points. Derek White and Drew Holiday, I mean, all credit to Minnesota as the number 1 team defense. I don't think individually they have the guys that play like Drew Holiday and Derek White. And you saw it. I mean, that last possession when Holiday was in Irving, you just see that dog in him, man. And those 2 guys defensively in the front court, man, are just they are hard-nosed defenders. And even with giving that 110% effort on defense, they're able to provide on offense too. And then you just have two top players in Brown and Tatum, right? And so I think it really is that first 5-6 guys as a core. But you've just seen when they've needed it, whether it's Hauser, whether it's Pritchard, somebody's come in and provided that spark when they need it, right? The other night, Dallas cut it to 6. Pritchard hits a half-court, shot off the glass to put it right back to 9. Silence it, and just take the momentum back over. And you mentioned how they close out quarters. So it's a mix of both, but I think it's just that how many teams are that deep at those first 6 spots, right? It may not be the amount of guys, right? It's not 8 or 9 deep. It's just how deep that 6 is when your 5th or 6th guy, when it's Porzingis or it's Horford or it's White, taking over the game, and you haven't even mentioned Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday. Right. I look at Dallas. Who on Dallas would start or even be in the rotation on this Boston team? I mean, honestly, think about it. Like Lively and Gafford would probably get some run as the big guy off the bench because positional thinking, right? But they would be coming in after Porzingis, after Horford. PJ Washington probably maybe get a few minutes. But, like, who's coming in to play off the Mavericks outside of Luka and Kyrie? It's really tough for me to think that somebody would be in that position, and I think we're seeing that right now. And again, Dallas, I don't know, man. I just expected to see a little bit different. We talked about stretching the floor. No Porzingis. Kleber didn't play as much. It looked like Hardaway and Green were the 2 guys that took over what Kleber tried to do the first 2 games, but they didn't take many attempts. I know Hardaway was 0 for 4. I know Green, but they didn't go pick and rolls. They didn't look to kick out. They made those changes, but they still played the same way with one-on-one isolation, and it's just not enough, man.
And they forced Luka to his right a lot. Kyrie was going on both sides of the court, but Boston did a great job of keeping Luka on the right, making that across-court pass really difficult, just like they've done the 3 games. And, yeah, Deontay, just want to get you to summarize Game 3 for us. But before we do that, White and Holiday combined for 25 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I mean, it's a very underrated backcourt in my opinion. But why don't you just go ahead and wrap up Game 3 for me, or for us, and we'll kind of get into Game 4 a little bit, talk about what our expectations are for that game too. Oh, and real quick, sorry, if you got a comment, put them out there. We got quite a few viewers going on right now, whether you're on Deontay's, whether you're on Sports Affiliation, give them both likes, repost that for us if you're watching it on X, and, get your comments in here. We'll load them up. We'll talk about it. But, yeah, do you just, final thoughts on Game 3, and then go ahead and segue right into what you think is going to happen Game 4.
All right, so here it is. My final thoughts on Game 3. I'm just happy that it's over. Because that last 4th quarter, it was just kind of a roller coaster. But what I think Game 3 just established, besides from, the usual superstars like Tatum and Brown, just working together, I think this game clearly showed you why Boston is a very much better team than Dallas. It's because of the depth, right? We're not Minnesota. We're not, Denver, and we're not the Clippers, right? We're not the Clippers. we have pretty much one of the best, the best bench in the league, and we pretty much have one of the best defensive units in the league. So, I'll give, even though Minnesota clearly came in, they had the best defense in the NBA, but they got dismissed 4-1. So, even though that they had, Rudy Gobert and Cat and Anthony Edwards, like they were just gassed out there. The difference with the Celtics is that, we got plenty of rest. We weren't, as gassed as Minnesota was, and now we're on the verge of just one more game away from, clinching our 18th championship banner, right? And so my expectation for this game is just that, I expect, if the shots are not falling, especially from 3-point range, find some way to get to the paint and just score. And then another thing, complacency can't be an issue. It really can't be, because if we go on a run, right, I expect us to maintain that same level of ferocity that we had to keep the run. You know, we can't call unnecessary timeouts even if we're on a run, right? And we certainly can't allow the opponent to just have one of these big runs like we did like we did this past game. Like they were literally on this 17, I think it was 17-4, 17-6 run. And then, you know, we had to call a timeout to, you know, keep that momentum away from our opponent. So, like I said, as long as players are hitting our shots, as long as we're up front and physical with the in the paint, as long as we can't be complacent, then that's how we win game 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Jaylen Brown said, right? The consistency, or not to be complacent, you know, stay in the moment, stay within the game. And yeah, I don't know. When Jason Kidd called that timeout on y'all's behalf, Dallas grabbed the rebound, and you could see that Luka was pissed. He like threw the ball, was like looking at Kidd, like, "What are you doing?" You know. And then a couple minutes after that, Luka fouls out. You know, we didn't really talk about Luka fouling out. You did mention it, D, but that's something that had an effect. I think Kyrie, like they were only down 4 points with like 55 seconds left. Kyrie did way too much dribbling at the top of the key, but he was gassed. He played all but like 3 minutes of this game, and I think he just didn't.
Those impossible shots, though. I will say that much.
I mean, he had a great game. I mean, they showed Kyrie out there 3 hours before the game shooting shots with nobody else on the court, no other player on the court. So I think he's somebody that's been to the finals more than once. And he's somebody that understood the moment and understood you can't go down 3-0, but they did, you know, and all credit deserves to go to Boston. I think, you know, Luka and Kyrie did Luka and Kyrie things, and they've kind of stuck with that game plan. And, you know, I know players win games and coaches lose them, but a lot of credit needs to go to Joe Mazzulla. I mean, people were ready for him to be fired at the end of last year. He just comes around, and Boston's one game away from being one of the best teams of all time. The 2023-2024 Boston Celtics are one win away from being one of the best playoff runs of all time, having one of the best regular seasons of all time. And it's not, I don't know that at least out west, it's definitely not getting the hype that it maybe is getting in Boston or back east. But, you know, Boston's a team you love or you hate them. And, you know, to piggyback off of what you said for game 4, Deontay, I don't know what's going to happen. I have a feeling the one prediction I do have is Kyrie's probably gassed after playing that much and carrying that much of a load. So I'm going to expect Luka Doncic just to put on a show. I think he's going to try to maybe go for his 40-point night. He's already not passing. It's already a record low for assists. Dallas is already shuffling people in and out of their lineups to try to find somebody that can score. They can't. I mean, they don't have somebody on their bench that can score. They look very defeated. So I don't know. Right now, Dallas is a 1-point favorite. It's pretty much a pick 'em on the spread, Evan. But how do you see this game going? I'm basically saying I don't know who's going to win this game. I'm leaning towards Boston. I think Boston may just go ahead and get this over. 4-0, take the trophy back home, celebrate back in Boston, you know, get their first winning championship team for that city. And I don't think the Bruins have won, so it's been a while. So they'll be happy to celebrate there once that goes down. But how do you see game 4 going? Do you see a specific, you know, way? And then we'll come back to you, Deontay. Then we'll build the pizza parlay and we'll get out of here, guys.
All right.
So it's tough because when it's 3-0, you wonder if the team down is just going to fold. You know, are they going to come out? Like you said, Kyrie's gassed. We're looking at, you know, the game's Friday, right? It's only that 48-hour swing pretty much into another game. They don't get that extra day off. I don't know, man. Dallas didn't make any of the changes. I mean, they kind of did, right? They played Green, they played Hardaway, but they didn't play to a game plan that would give them the chances. Even Derrick Jones Jr., like I know he's not a 3-point shooter, but in this matchup, Dallas needed to create looks for Green, Kleber, Jones Jr., Washington, and these other guys to have an impact from the 3-point line and be involved in the game. And I know Kyrie played great tonight, but they can't win with just them two, and they just never did that tonight. It's like they kind of looked like they wanted to with the rotations of players, but they never did. And you, I don't know, it's hard to expect Tim Hardaway, who's been awful, to just come in and you just hope, okay, he's a scorer. He's been that guy. He was in the 6th man of the year talk only a few months ago, right?
Yeah,
maybe he can catch fire. And I get that thinking, but I think the lack of offense in the half court and just the continued isolation of Kyrie and Luka and expecting them to make tough shots just like at the end, Kyrie got the switch. He got Horford on him, but it was a 30-plus foot fall away shot. You know, it wasn't dribble him in, then a little fade away where he create that space. It was just, you know, like you saw Luka do to Gobert to win that game. It was a real tough, real far shot for a guy that was gassed. So I think that Boston, honestly, I know they'll say all the right things. I think they'd be fine to go home and win game 5 and win it in front of their crowd. But what I think is Boston's going to do what they do. They're going to take 42 plus three-pointers. And if they are plus 20 in that category or more, like they've been so far, I think they're going to win the game just kind of by default because Dallas can't compete from three-point land, and they haven't had anybody else show up. And to expect Luka and Kyrie to come out and score 70-plus to win the game unless Boston just goes cold. I think if for Dallas to win this game, that three-point discrepancy's got to be a lot closer, if not Boston just having one of those down games that they haven't had yet this series, and Dallas having a couple guys catch fire. It doesn't look like they can beat this Celtics team. So it's tough because it's just Boston could come out flat and be fine with winning. So it's hard to take a side. But it's hard for me to take a side, but I just think Boston's going to do what they do. And if they make 35 plus, 35% plus, like we talked about before game 1 on 40 plus attempts, I don't know if Dallas has the firepower to win, and it's almost like we'll see the same thing, 105, 100, right? 106, 99. Like, it's just hard pressed unless Boston comes out flat and it's like, we're not going to say this, we're not going to try to do this, but we're fine with losing this game and going home. And we've seen that over the years in the NBA. That happens at times, but it's hard to predict that.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a great way of saying it. And D, before we get you back for game 4, just to talk about it, then we go into the pizza parlay. Like I said, we don't have the bets in front of us. You're seeing this live. I mean, if you're watching this on Thursday at the normal time, we recorded this immediately after game 3, so we've been discussing that. I want to say thanks for the viewers. We had 70. We're back to 69, so we'll see if we can get off of that number. But, D, do you think, as the Celtics, this is going to be the magic number, man, speaking of 69. You guys are going for number 11. 11 wins in a row in the playoffs, man.
Yep.
Do you think they get that done for game 4?
For game 4, I do believe that they get the job done in Dallas. I mean, from what this game showed tonight, even though Dallas was just right there to clinch the game, they just couldn't do it. Luka fouled out, and then they had to just rely on Kyrie and a bunch of their role players. I mean, if you take a look at, outside of PJ Washington and Derek Lively, they just really couldn't rely on anybody else. Like, yes, Gafford did have, a quiet game, a good quiet game, I will say that much. But other than that, Maxi Kleber and then Tim Hardaway is just, I'm not really sold on their role players, to be honest. But looking at it from Boston's point of view, these are the guys that I can trust. Drew Holiday, right? Derek White, who is all NBA second defensive team. And there's more to basketball than just scoring, right? You got Al Horford out there who, can still get you valuable points and rebounds and assists with the minutes that he's getting, right? And then you have Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench. You have Sam Hauser coming off the bench, who is a certified 3-point bucket getter at this point, right? And then you have Xavier Tillman, who's coming off of the bench to provide you with some extra defensive minutes. But with that being said, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they were just pretty much in their element tonight. So, it is what it is. And I do believe that Boston does take game 4 in Dallas. Even if we don't, then game 5 is going back to Boston. Game 5 is going back to Boston. We have 2 whole days to rest up for that game, and we should be able to win game 5. But I have a strong feeling that Boston is just gonna finish the job in game 4 in Dallas's home court, even without Porzingis. So,
yeah, we're all calling for the brooms, it sounds like, or at least tilting that way with it, looking for game 11 for Boston to win. Another thing I didn't add to, like, the greatest team of all time, if they win this game 4, That means they didn't lose a single game on the road during the playoffs. Not one road playoff loss. That I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm trying to think because Denver lost 4 games. They lost one in Minnesota, one in Phoenix, and then the other 2 losses came at home. I believe one against Phoenix and one against Miami in the finals. So I mean, it's just a completely and utterly dominant run. One of the most dominant runs that it's the most dominant run I can remember since Shaq and Kobe. And they lost game 1 of the NBA Finals to Allen Iverson. That was the only game they lost. That was, Phil Jackson, that whole crew. That's where we are. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, speculation with the pizza parlay. So if you're new to this, please click the like, come subscribe. Deontay, he's over here talking the Giants, talking Boston. We got multiple sports that we all like to talk about, Evan, me, and Deontay. So give us a like, give us a subscription, and come back and get some more on it. Pizza parlay. If you're new to this, is something we've been doing. Like I said, last week was the beginning of the 3rd year of us doing it. And what it is just pizza and sports. The 2 things I think that bring people together. I don't know about Rhode Island pizza, D, but I did hear a Rhode Island story about a guy going to a pizza parlor, and he said, I think it was a mafia cover-up because nobody was in there but these guys sitting around the table. And he said they seemed pissed off that I ordered a pizza, and he said it took them 50 minutes to make it. And they said they just gave me the pizza for free. So, I mean, I don't know, what's going on over there in Rhode Island, but I know they love pizza over there. Just like they do.
We do, yeah.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to bring one bet for game 4. Like I said, we don't have all the odds in front of us. We just have a couple straight bets. But what I'm going to do for my part, I'll lead it off just real quick. Luka Doncic is probably going to be at about 30.5 points, somewhere in there. Just take the over. Boston has shown over and over again, we'll let you take your points, Luka, especially if you're not going to pass it. You get your points, we'll shut down everybody else. I think Luka comes back really pissed off from Mark Davis. Awful officiating tonight. Mm-hmm. And I think he comes back and just, says, I can score at will and I want to, especially with Kyrie probably being out. So that's my fold of the parlay, if you will. We'll go to Deontay and then we'll come to you, Evan, okay? And we'll wrap it up. So do you have any player prop or straight bets you like for game 4 that you think will be good?
Let's see. I do have an alternative point spread for you guys, right? Let's see. From what I'm seeing here, honestly, I feel confident in me taking the Boston Celtics at +1.5. So that is it looks like it's to be a -125. I mean, quite honestly, with the direction of how the first 3 games have gone, especially with this recent game, I mean, the Celtics should win by at least 2 points in this game, in this next game coming up, right? I mean, the margin of victory has just been 5 points or more. So, in each of the first 3 games. So, like I said, I feel like that should be easy money, especially at -125. So, yeah, that's what I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take Celtics at +1.5.
I love it. So yeah, you got the 1.5 point spread. I got Luka. I'm gonna speculate and say that's probably somewhere around +240, +230, somewhere in there. Evan, what do you got to make us get over probably +400?
So you probably have an idea of who I'll probably go to here. It started and it's ended with Derek Lively. I think that if we're looking at the game and we've talked about kind of what could happen and we all kind of lean Celtics, but I don't think anybody would be surprised if Dallas comes out and wins this game by a lot, right? Boston goes cold. Maybe Dallas finally gets hot from 3 and Boston's like, all right, let's just go home game 5 and get it done. But if that's the case, who is it on Dallas that's making shots? Is it Green? Is it Hardaway? Is it Kleber? Is it Jones? I have no clue. So I don't like those guys, right? And they might miss, they might make. What I do know is it looks like Derek Lively is the guy they want to use. We've talked about that, and I know Gafford gets his minutes. I just don't see a young Derek Lively going out there and selling. I think he goes out there and hustles, and I think whether Boston makes or misses their threes, they're going to take 42+, which means the rebounds will be there. He's been at 6.5, and it's been plus money. I think the line, I would venture it's probably going to be 7.5 and probably something closer to -130 just on the way that we've seen the last 2 games from him. I don't think they'll give us much more than that, but they can't make it too juiced because, again, he was in foul trouble game 1. He landed on 7 in game 2, And yes, he did drop the double-double tonight. So I think we'll see about 7.5. I'm fine with 8 rebounds for Lively. And I think we'll see it around that minus 130 number. I think the way this game goes, I think Lively's a constant that we can trust more outside of Luka and Kyrie scoring than we can anywhere else.
I agree, and he has chemistry with both of them as well. That's probably going to put us up at around 360, 350. What I'll do is Friday, I'll put all of our names and tag us, and you can see it on the sports affiliation. We'll put it back up the way we'll put the pizza. We all love pizzas. And like I said, the concept one more time, you get the dough, you get the sauce, you get the cheese. Then you get 3 ingredients at least. From us 3, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be at about plus 360. I think it's going to be good. Friday, quick turnaround for that. Any closing remarks before we get out of here from either one of you two? No? All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just, I was going to let Dante go first there, so we both kind of hesitated. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'd be nice to see another game, but obviously down 3-0, we haven't seen a team come back, so it kind of feels like this might be the last NBA we really get to discuss. But, again, man, Boston, I mean – even game 2, they only made 10 threes and they still found a way to win, right? And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum had bad games in that game, and they still won that game. And the other 2 games, they're plus 51 from 3. Unless Boston just goes cold, man, I just don't see it. And it's kind of unfortunate because I thought we were going to get a much better NBA Finals, as basketball fans. Obviously, there's one section of the country that's plenty happy about this result. But as a whole, we wanted to see like 6 games at least. We had talks of 6 being the game, maybe even 7. And I mean, we're not even going to go back to Boston probably, So that's all I got.
Yeah, I feel you. Do you any closing remarks? Where to find your work? What else you'll be doing there?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the good people can find me over at Twitter at Dante Adams01. My username is just right next to my actual name. And then talking about the game, I mean, yeah, game 4 is gonna suck with just not having Porzingis out on the court. But by Friday, he's gonna be an NBA champion. So I doubt that he's gonna worry too much, And even if we don't take game 4, I mean, I do expect us to take game 5, but game 4 is the overall expectation of the end all be all for this Celtics championship run. So. It's been a journey, so and I honestly can't wait to live it up for Friday. But the job's not finished, so there's still a lot more that we have to do, especially for Friday's game, considering that it's just like a 1-day break as opposed to 2. So we're just gonna have to be very mindful about complacency. So.
Complacency is a killer, as they say in the competitive world. And I just want to say once again, thank you all for participating, joining in on the show with us. We do always appreciate it. Know that if you ever have comments, you got a betting question. Deontay was on a heater. You were had 4 or 5 in a row like last week or coming into the final between baseball and basketball. D and Evan both do the MLB, so make sure you follow them in that too. They didn't mention it, but they're great MLB guys. Know a lot of knowledge over there. Both of them. You like the Mets? Who's your team in baseball? Is it
my team in baseball is the New York Mets, and tonight we just won against the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, see, so there you go. 2 NL guys over there. So particularly if you're in the NL, go check them out. I mean, I would say I follow the Rockies, but what's there to follow? What's there to follow, man? They suck. So our time over here in the Colorado world, we were riding a high. It looks like Dallas is about to crash into that high as well with their hockey team and basketball team. And long live Boston, one of the greatest sports cities there is of all time. So shout out to those people as well. I just want to say thank y'all for joining, man. We almost got 100 viewers today. Come back and check the show. Go to the Sports Affiliation. Sometimes you have to go to the live playlist, and then you can see all these live shows we do. We do more live shows than we do editing, just because we keep it real with you guys and we keep it honest with you. And we want to give you our real take. So that's always something I think that we can pride ourselves with over at the Sports Affiliation, as well as being positive and inclusive. So if you ever want to come join us, you ever want to be an episode on one of our shows, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you. And Deontay, we're doing one thing with all the guests on here. Forgot to do it at the beginning of the show again, Evan, but we will cut this out. And Deontay, could you just take us out with, just give it like a second pause and then just say, hey, this is Deontay Adams. You're listening to the sports affiliation, or this is your what's up, Homeslice. All right, and then I'll get us out of here, guys. So take us out, D.
All right. So this has been Deontay Adams, the special guest of Homeslice by the sports affiliation, and I hope that you all have a good night. Take care, everyone.